That night, when betrayal stepped out of the shadows, even the air in the house changed, thick, almost tangible. It all began with the vibration of a phone that wasn't his, left carelessly on the nightstand. She never left it unattended. Never. And hidden in that never was the first crack in her carefully constructed lie. Then came the whisper from behind the door. Laughter. A voice. Not one. Before you can even process it, you're at the heart of someone else's domestic disaster, face to face with a moment from which there's no return. He doesn't yell, doesn't make a scene. He just watches, memorizes, waits. And then he starts playing by her rules, but better, colder. He doesn't lash out. He strikes with precision like a surgeon. Every move he makes is a challenge, every word a verdict. And when she realizes she's lost everything, it'll be far too late. Welcome to a home where infidelity comes at a steep price, where love is no guarantee, but a battleground. And the ending? It's not divorce, it's victory. Greetings, my dear friend. I am very happy that you are watching my video, and I will be even happier if you subscribe to my channel. This will make me even happier. Let's get started. The first buzz barely brushed the edge of my consciousness, a faint vibration against the wood beside the bed. The second stirred me slightly, a whisper in the fog of sleep. But the third, sharp, insistent, almost angry, dragged me out of the haze completely. I groaned and reached out, still caught in the grogginess of waking, but my hand didn't meet my phone. It touched something slick and cool, Camilla's phone. That immediately set off alarms. Camilla never left her phone unattended. Not when she showered, not when she stepped outside, not even when she crossed the room. What I once chalked up to an endearing quirk, her constant tether to the screen, now struck a different chord entirely. My own phone was still pulsing with alerts, a tight, uneasy feeling clenched in my chest. I picked it up. 3 unread texts. No contact name. Check her phone. She's not telling you the truth. She's not alone. My blood went cold. My gaze shifted to the other half of the bed. Empty. The sheets were still imprinted with her shape, faintly warm. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The house didn't feel quiet. It felt suspended, like the air itself was listening. My eyes moved to the closed door, then to the hallway bathed in shadow, and finally to the stairwell just beyond. A sound floated up, not mechanical, not the house settling. This was soft, human, a voice, then a quiet laugh, her laugh. My heart started hammering, my body jolted to full alert, every instinct screaming. Something was wrong, deeply, irreversibly wrong. I slipped from the bed, clutching my phone like a weapon, my movements slow and soundless. I didn't know what I was walking toward. I just knew I couldn't stay still. Midway down the stairs, I froze. The living room was cloaked in darkness, but the soft blue cast of a phone screen lit 2 figures. Camilla and a man, sitting far too close for comfort. My breath caught. My vision tunneled. The edges of the room seemed to shimmer, distorted by the surge of rage threatening to boil over. She leaned toward him, her lips near his, her fingers grazing his hand in a way that betrayed far more than friendship, an electric, secretive intimacy, in my home, on my furniture. I clenched my jaw, fury crashed over me, hot and blinding. I wanted to shout, to throw something, to tear the room apart, but I didn't move. Not yet. If they noticed me, if they turned, no. I gripped the banister tighter, and then the front door creaked open. A soft gasp, a startled inhale. Standing frozen in the entryway was our daughter, backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes wide with confusion. Eliza. She wasn't supposed to be here. The sleepover should have lasted until morning. Maybe she forgot something. Maybe she got scared. Whatever brought her back, it had led her straight into this moment. And instead of the safety of home, she walked into betrayal. Her face shifted, puzzled at first, then laced with fear. "Daddy?" Camilla turned abruptly, like someone had thrown ice water on her. Her mouth parted in shock, and in that instant, she saw what she hadn't expected: Eliza's presence. The dawning horror in her expression was unmistakable. The regret hit her like a blow. The man, Kevin. It clicked now. Kevin from her office stood up too quickly, fumbling with his phone, muttering something incoherent as he edged toward the door. I didn't hear him. I only saw Camilla. I stepped forward, one deliberate pace. Explain. The word came out low, nearly inaudible, but the gravity behind it made her flinch like I'd shouted. She opened her mouth, reaching for something, an excuse, a story, a way out. But she saw it in my eyes. There was no explanation good enough, not now, not with Eliza watching. "It's not," she started, but I stopped her cold. "Don't!" My voice cracked like a whip. "Don't!" Eliza took a step back, her eyes darting between us, filling with tears. Her hands were trembling. That was the breaking point. My little girl, my heart. She wasn't supposed to witness this. She should have been asleep somewhere safe, wrapped in dreams and comfort, not caught in the middle of this nightmare. Camilla glanced toward Eliza, and I saw something stir behind her eyes. Some flicker of instinct, of guilt, of a mother trying to shield her child. But the damage had already been done. Too late. But the damage had already been done. Eliza had seen everything. Camilla turned toward me, her face briefly betraying a flicker of panic. Then, true to form, she switched tactics, straight to the offensive. "This is absurd!" she snapped, arms crossing tightly as though she were the one being wronged. "It's not what it looks like." A dry, bitter laugh escaped me. "Oh, is that right? Then tell me, what is it, Camilla? A Bible study? Some kind of professional mixer?" Her face hardened into a glare. "Lower your voice. Eliza doesn't need to witness this side of you, this side of me, as if I were the problem, as if I was the one who'd caused this wreckage." Eliza let out a quiet, choked whimper. I turned to her, really saw her, her small fingers clenching the strap of her backpack, her quivering bottom lip, eyes just like her mother's, now brimming with tears. Camilla had taken so much from me already. And now she was taking her too. I drew in a long breath, willing myself calm. "Eliza, honey," I said, kneeling so I could meet her eyes. "Why don't you head upstairs for a bit, okay? I'll be up to talk to you soon." She hesitated, casting a worried glance at her mother. Camilla offered a stiff, artificial smile, as though pretending this was all somehow still under control, as though this wasn't the moment everything came apart. "Go ahead, sweetheart," she said softly. "Daddy's just upset right now." I bit down the rage clawing at my throat. Eliza slowly nodded, uncertainty all over her face, before she turned and hurried up the stairs. The click of her bedroom door was my signal. I turned back to Camilla. "Now," I said, my voice level but razor sharp, "tell me the truth. Because if you lie to me again, I swear you'll regret every second of it." Camilla didn't recoil. She didn't falter. Instead, she tilted her head with maddening calm and gave me a smirk. What she said next would become the final nail in the coffin. "Well, since you're so curious," she said with a mocking sweetness, "I've actually been thinking, maybe we should try an open marriage." I blinked, waiting for her to crack a smile, to laugh it off, to say she was kidding. But she stood there, unfazed, arms crossed like a queen delivering a decree, as if I were the unreasonable one. "An open marriage," I repeated, the words tasting foreign and wrong in my mouth. She rolled her eyes like I was being childish. "Oh, come on. Don't act shocked." I took a step forward, my voice dark and low. "You invited another man into our home. Our daughter saw it happen. And now you want to talk about redefining our marriage." Camilla let out an exasperated sigh, the way someone might when asked to explain the obvious to a child. God, calm down. You're overreacting. This isn't as huge as you're making it. Something inside me snapped. This isn't serious to you? I asked, my voice shaking with restrained fury. Eliza walking in on you? Breaking our vows? Lying to my face? Tossing aside everything we built together? None of that matters? She threw her hands up. You always blow things out of proportion. I was going to tell you, eventually. But you're so rigid I knew you'd lose it like this. My chest felt like it might cave in. The room seemed to shrink. There she was, caught in the act, yet somehow still trying to paint me as the unreasonable one. How long has this been going on? I asked, barely managing to keep my voice steady. She paused. Just long enough. That tiny hesitation said everything. I laughed, bitter and breathless. So it's true. You've been sleeping around. Just tell me how long. She sighed, like this whole situation was some tedious inconvenience. A few months. A few months. Suddenly, all those late-night errands, all those girls' nights, all those face-down phones, they snapped into place like puzzle pieces. A humorless chuckle left me. I shook my head. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. She gave a nonchalant shrug, as if this were a minor disagreement. It's not a big deal, she said breezily. It's just variety, that's all. I love you, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life bored. I thought maybe opening things up could actually make us stronger. She said it like she was offering me a gift. Like betrayal could be rebranded as a solution. I raked a hand through my hair, struggling to keep myself from exploding. And let me guess, I said, voice drenched in sarcasm. You already pitched this idea to Kevin? She didn't reply. She didn't need to. The silence gave her away. Of course, I said, a frigid laugh curling from my lips. So you've already made your move. Had your fun. And now you want my blessing? That smug little smile crept back onto her lips. That infuriating glimmer in her eyes, the look of someone who thought they'd already won. You should really give it some thought, she said, her voice measured and cool. It might actually be healthy for us. I drew in a long breath, fighting the tremble in my chest. Every instinct urged me to erupt, to slam a fist into the wall, to scream until my throat was raw, to shatter her illusion of control. But something more dangerous began to settle inside me. Precise, unforgiving, unbreakable. If Camilla wanted to reshape what we had, so be it. She wanted an open marriage. I'd play along, and I already knew exactly where to start. She reclined with that self-satisfied posture, arms crossed, like she was bracing for the blowout. She expected yelling, maybe tears, or some desperate attempt to change her mind. She thought I was cornered, thought she'd already won. But she had no idea who she was playing with. I let the breath out slowly, steadying myself, and locked my gaze onto hers. Then I offered a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. You know what? I said, my voice even and restrained. You're probably right. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, puzzled. That wasn't the reaction she'd predicted. Wait, really? I nodded once, letting the silence drag just enough to stir her uncertainty. You're right, I said again, this time more firmly. Let's open things up. For a brief moment, doubt flickered across her expression. Then she smoothed it over with a smug little grin. I knew you'd come around, she said, pretending she'd triumphed. Oh, Camilla. She thought the game was hers. She didn't realize I'd already rewritten the rules. By the next morning, the wheels were in motion. I knew precisely where to hit. If she was going to ridicule our vows, then I'd make sure the fallout left her breathless. I picked up my phone and started scrolling through my contacts until I landed on the name that mattered most. Sabrina, Kevin's wife. We'd only spoken briefly at company functions, soft-spoken, composed, one of those people who faded into the background. No one would see her coming. But now, everything had changed. I tapped her name and hit call. She answered after the second ring. Hello? Hi, Sabrina, I said calmly. It's Samuel, Camilla's husband. A pause, then guarded. Oh, hi. Her voice told me everything. She didn't know what this was, but she felt the tremor beneath it. She didn't yet know the depth, but she sensed it was coming. I didn't waste time. I need to talk to you about Kevin and Camilla. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath on her end. What did they do? 10 minutes later, we sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, two strangers bound by a shared betrayal. I laid it all out. Camilla's late nights, the cryptic texts, her smug little revelation that kept echoing in my ears. Sabrina never cut in. She just sat there, clutching her coffee like it was the only solid thing left, her knuckles pale against the porcelain. When I finally finished, she let out a ragged breath, her eyes glassy. I suspected, she said softly. He's been distant, cold. I didn't want to admit it. I know, I said. I didn't either. She met my eyes then, something harder rising beneath her sadness. So what's your move? I leaned back, choosing every word carefully. Camilla thinks she's orchestrating all this, that she's calling the shots, but she made one fatal misstep. Sabrina's head tilted. Which was? I let a slow smile unfurl. She underestimated me. Sabrina's lips curved upward, her expression sharpening. Then let's make sure they regret that. Later that night, Camilla came home, oblivious to the shift beneath her feet. She dropped her purse on the counter, stretched like she'd just come from a long day at a spa, and turned to me with that same glint of arrogance in her eyes. You've been thinking about it, haven't you? She said, voice smooth like silk. About how this could be a good thing for us? I almost laughed, but kept it buried. I kept the mask on. Yeah, I replied, matching her tone. I've given it a lot of thought. She lit up like she'd just won the lottery. She believed she'd pulled me in. What she didn't realize was that the trap had already sprung. I let her ramble about liberation, growth, exploring new territory. I nodded like I was sold. I played my part to perfection. And the very next evening, I invited Sabrina over. Camilla was lounging on the couch, scrolling her phone, probably sending Kevin another little secret, when the doorbell rang. She barely looked up as I walked to the front door, but the second she saw who was standing there, her world cracked. Sabrina stepped inside with effortless grace. She carried herself like a woman who had already claimed the upper hand. It was magnetic, watching her walk in like she owned the space, as if she hadn't just entered the home of the woman who had been sleeping with her husband. Camilla stared, blinking, her composure slipping. Confusion morphed into panic, and right then I knew. This was only the beginning. What's she doing here? I closed the door behind Sabrina, calm and collected, offering a pleasant, measured smile. You said you wanted honesty, I replied, keeping my tone breezy. Thought I'd start strong, with Kevin's wife. Camilla froze in place as if the air had been knocked out of her. Sabrina barely held back a smile. Camilla blinked, opened her mouth, then hesitated, her mind struggling to connect the dots. You're joking, she said at last, disbelief coloring her voice. I casually leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Is there an issue? You're seriously doing this? She spat. You bring Sabrina here, after everything? You've been with Kevin, I said evenly. Figured I could spend a little time with Sabrina. Fair's fair, isn't it? Color rose in Camilla's face, turning her cheeks a deep, furious red. That's not the same, and you know it. Sabrina's voice was silky, untouched by Camilla's anger. Why not? She asked coolly, tilting her head. Aren't we all playing the transparency game now? Camilla's gaze snapped toward her, sharp and accusing. You knew? I do now, Sabrina answered without flinching. A dense silence followed. hanging between us like smoke. Camilla's eyes darted between me and Sabrina, caught, unsure, cornered. She inhaled slowly, nostrils flared, her jaw clenched tight. Then, out of nowhere, she let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "You think this is going to shake me?" she sneered, folding her arms across her chest like armor. "Fine. Go ahead. Let's see how long you last in the kind of marriage you just stepped into." She thought she was setting the stage, laying down a challenge. She didn't realize the play was already finished. Camilla believed she still had leverage, that I'd buckle under pressure, change course, beg for a truce. What she couldn't see was that the curtains were already closing on her charade. For years she played the puppeteer, convinced she was the one pulling every string. But not anymore. Sabrina and I sank into the couch, a picture of composure, while Camilla stalked the room like a storm ready to burst. Her arms were crossed, lips drawn tight, but the tremble beneath her surface betrayed her fury. She acted like she didn't care, but the way her hand gripped her phone told another story. She was waiting, hoping Kevin hadn't found out. He had. I made sure of it. Eventually, she stopped pacing and faced us, wearing a smug expression like a mask. "So what now?" she asked, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "You and Sabrina playing house while I do my thing? That the new arrangement?" I gave a small shrug. "You asked for an open marriage. I'm just making sure the rules apply to everyone." Camilla let out a sharp laugh, dripping with contempt. "This isn't what you want, Samuel." Sabrina leaned toward me gently, placing a hand on my knee. Her voice was low and soft, unshaken. "And how would you know that?" Camilla's jaw tightened. The show of intimacy clearly stung. Exactly what I wanted. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and locked eyes with her. "Here's the difference between us," I said evenly. "You pushed for an open relationship because you thought you could have it all. A husband who stayed, and a secret fling on the side, like some teenage fantasy you never outgrew." She rolled her eyes in irritation. "Don't lecture me," she snapped, but I didn't stop. "Me? I'm just living by the rules you put in place. No lies, no sneaking around." Her expression hardened, ice forming behind her stare. "Samuel?" Sabrina's voice cut in, honeyed and deceptively innocent. "You don't seem thrilled, Camilla. Wasn't this your idea?" Camilla drew in a shaky breath, her eyes practically glowing with anger. "You're pathetic," she spat. "You really think dragging her into this makes me jealous? That I'll suddenly change my mind and come crawling back? Grow up." I smiled, slow and calm. "That's the thing. You're the only one losing here." I saw it then. A flicker of something behind her eyes. Doubt, fear. She knew. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen a few times, then held it up for her to see. Her entire demeanor crumbled. Messages, pages of them. Late-night conversations with Kevin. The lies, the manipulation, the insults. And most importantly, the text I had already sent to Kevin. Sent before she had a chance to rewrite the story. "Hey, Kevin, just so you know, Camilla filled me in. Hope things work out between you and Sabrina." Camilla lunged toward me, trying to grab the phone, but I stepped back with ease, sliding it into my pocket. You bastard!" I cut her off with a half-smirk. "This is what real honesty looks like, Camilla. Maybe try it sometime." She turned to Sabrina now, desperate, clinging to the last threads of control. "You're seriously siding with him? You actually believe this crap?" Sabrina rose beside me, completely unruffled. "I don't need to believe him," she said calmly. "The truth speaks for itself." And just like that, Camilla unraveled. And she knew it. I witnessed every second of it. The creeping panic, the silent gasp of realization, the stunned disbelief as the illusion she'd so carefully constructed came crashing down. She had been the one to champion an open marriage, pushing boundaries she thought she could control. But now, she was about to learn what it meant to live with doors wide open and no walls left standing. Because I wasn't just leaving her behind. I was walking away with everything that counted. Camilla stood frozen, eyes darting as her mind scrambled for a way to regain control. For the first time in her meticulously plotted life, she wasn't the one holding the reins. She wasn't the smartest voice in the room. And she sure as hell wasn't winning. I let the silence swell between us, dense, merciless. I wanted her to sit in it, to feel the weight of her downfall sinking into her chest. Predictably, she reached for the one weapon manipulators always wield when cornered, the narrative. "So this is just about getting back at me, right?" she asked, her voice breaking at the edges of her own theater. "None of this is real. You don't care about Sabrina. You're not into this lifestyle. You're just trying to hurt me." I raised an eyebrow, saying nothing. Her lips parted like she was going to continue, but whatever words she had dried up the moment I refused to correct her. Honesty wasn't what she'd expected. "You're not wrong," I said, stepping close enough that she had to look up. "Sabrina doesn't mean anything to me. We barely know each other." I paused, letting the blunt truth do its work before twisting the knife. "But that didn't stop you with Kevin, did it?" Her expression faltered, her facade cracking just enough to reveal the tremble underneath. I wouldn't let her rewrite the story. Not this time. And if she wanted to talk about revenge... I chuckled softly, cold, humorless. "You're damn right it's revenge. You didn't just betray me, Camilla. You ridiculed me. You made me a joke. And the worst part? You didn't even hesitate when Eliza walked in on it." Her name hit its mark. A flicker of guilt passed behind Camilla's eyes. Good. Let that guilt rot her from the inside out. She crossed her arms, clutching for scraps of dignity. "So what now?" she muttered. "You want a divorce?" I took a breath, slow and deliberate, then shook my head with something between pity and contempt. "Oh, Camilla," I said, clucking my tongue. "You still think this is just about divorce?" I turned to Sabrina. Did Kevin respond yet? Cool as ever, she glanced at her phone. A slow smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. "Oh," he answered. Camilla stiffened. I gestured for Sabrina to go ahead. She cleared her throat and read the message aloud, each word soaked in Kevin's disbelief. "Camilla? What the hell have you done? Sabrina found out. She's taking the kids. She's gone to her mom's. She wants a divorce. You've destroyed everything." The words struck Camilla like a slap. Her entire frame recoiled. I barely managed to hide the satisfaction curling in my gut. Sabrina turned to face her, her eyes alight with something fierce. "Looks like you're losing both of us tonight." That was it. The crack that split her wide open. What had been panic turned to pure, unfiltered fear. This wasn't just fallout. It was collapse. I leaned in close, my voice barely above a whisper. "You wanted things wide open," I said. "Well, here it is. Life in the open, raw and ruthless." Camilla's hands balled into fists at her sides. "You think this is funny?" she spat. I tilted my head. "No," I said quietly. "I think it's justice." Her breathing turned shallow, shaky, and then the front door slammed open. We all turned. Kevin stood in the doorway, fury carved into every line of his face. This night was far from over. He barreled in, a man pushed far past his limits, hair disheveled, shirt wrinkled, eyes ablaze with betrayal. Exactly as he should be. Camilla turned toward him, a flicker of hope crossing her face, until she saw what had replaced the man she once knew. There was no sorrow there, no ache, only rage. "You complete idiot!" Kevin snapped, his voice hoarse with fury. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Camilla flinched. "Kevin, She tried, but he didn't let her finish. She left me, Camilla. Sabrina left. She took the kids. She told my boss, Camilla. She spelled it all out. He stepped forward, his voice rising like a storm. Do you even understand what that means? Camilla opened her mouth, but no words came. She had nothing to say. I glanced at Sabrina, who gave me the smallest nod. That play had been hers. She hadn't just walked away from Kevin. She'd set fire to everything he'd ever relied on. Kevin ran a hand through his hair, his breaths coming fast. Christ, I lost my wife. I lost my family. And for what? For you? His voice cracked. A woman who can't even hold her own world together? Camilla's eyes widened, the full magnitude of her ruin finally breaking through. Hold on a second, what are you implying? Kevin spun to face me, eyes narrowing to cold slits. You do realize she had someone else on the side, right? The air in the room fractured like glass under strain. Camilla froze mid-inhale. Everything shifted in a blink, like the night had been hijacked. My mind scrambled to make sense of the impact. Come again? I said, struggling to catch up. Kevin gave a low, mirthless laugh and shook his head with deliberate slowness. Unreal? So you had no clue? His laughter grew louder, more bitter. Unfreaking believable. Here I was thinking I was the only one she was sneaking around with. Turns out we were both just pieces on her board. From across the room, Sabrina let out a short, sharp chuckle, equal parts entertained and venomous. Well, that's a hell of a plot twist, she muttered. I turned my head toward Camilla, slowly, deliberately. Is that true? Her chest rose and fell quicker now, her gaze flitting nervously. I don't know what he's talking about. Kevin let out a barking laugh. Oh, save that for someone who still buys your act. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then shoved the screen in my face. A photo. Camilla, sitting across from a man at a dimly lit table. Not me, not Kevin, a total stranger. My gut twisted into a knot, my fists clenched at my sides. Who is that? I asked, voice sharp and tight. Kevin's response was a blade. Her boss. Sabrina gave a slow, mocking whistle. Damn, Camilla. Aiming high, huh? Camilla's hands began to tremble. Her lies peeled away. No more spin, no more story, just the truth, naked and brutal. Samuel, please, she began. Don't, I snapped. Her lips snapped shut like a trap. I stepped closer, ice in every step. Let me make sure I've got this right. It wasn't just Kevin, you were screwing your boss too? Camilla's throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. It wasn't like that, she started, but Kevin cut her off. And you, he growled, pointing at me. You're seriously still defending her? You thought this was just between us? Camilla looked stricken, unraveling in real time. Samuel, baby, don't... That did it. You don't get to baby me anymore, Camilla. She looked between us, realizing, finally, that the walls were closing in. Her mask was gone. Her control? Gone. Her leverage? Shattered. I wasn't about to let her slither away from the wreckage she'd caused. She was shaking now, eyes darting like a trapped animal looking for a way out. But there wasn't one. Her exits had vanished. The performance was over. The spotlight had turned brutal. I turned to Kevin, voice low and lethal. So let me get this straight. You and Camilla were hooking up for how long? Kevin exhaled sharply. Months, he said. And during that time, she was also sleeping with her boss. He laughed again, dark, empty of joy. Looks like Camilla just snapped somewhere along the way. Camilla's voice rose into a shrill protest. You're twisting everything. It wasn't even that serious. She sounded panicked, cracking. I didn't blink. How long, Camilla? I asked, stepping forward like I already knew the answer. She hesitated. I took another measured step. How long? Her lips parted, but no words came. Kevin's jaw tensed. Tell him, Camilla. Her breath came in a trembling gust. Her voice was a ghost. A year. Time froze. Not weeks, not a few months. A year. The anger didn't come in a blaze. It sank in like ice. Not the screaming kind of fury. No. This was the quiet kind. The precise kind. The kind that scars. Sabrina whistled under her breath. Wow, and you thought you'd keep all this buried? Camilla's breaths came shallow and fast. I never meant for it to— For what? I interrupted, stepping in even closer. To explode in your face, for you to finally have to answer for it? Her jaw clenched. I was going to tell you, she whispered. I laughed, but it was hollow, empty and sharp as a cracked mirror. Were you? Really? She turned to Kevin, eyes pleading. Tell them. It wasn't just me. You were part of it too. Kevin snorted, curling his lip. Oh, don't even start. Now you want to drag me down with you? He shook his head, slow and deliberate, his gaze hollow. It's all gone. My family, my career, everything I built. And you? He let out a short, bitter laugh. You really think words are going to clean up this disaster? Camilla's breath hitched, her chest rising and falling in sharp bursts. I never meant for it to spiral like this. I honestly thought you'd see where I was coming from. A cold smirk crept onto my face. See what, Camilla? That you didn't just betray me, you violated the place we called home, that your lies weren't just reckless, but calculated? My voice cut harder with every syllable. You traded everything we had for a momentary thrill. Her face twisted, some mix of guilt and defiance. I wanted more than what you gave me. Silence fell like a weight, oppressive, until Sabrina gave a low, mocking whistle. Well, damn. That was the moment. The mask slipped. Camilla's hand flew to her mouth, but it was far too late to take it back. I nodded slowly, letting her words settle like dust over everything. You know, Camilla, I said, my voice like ice. I truly hope all those secret nights and lies were worth it, because you just torched everything. The blood drained from her face. What? What are you doing? I pulled out my phone and without a flicker of hesitation sent a single text to my lawyer. Move forward. Her breath caught. She staggered a step. Samuel, wait, please. Don't do this. I didn't respond. Instead, I turned to Sabrina. Shall we? Her smirk was sharp and unapologetic. Absolutely. Kevin gave a dry chuckle. I'm out. You two can enjoy the show. Camilla lunged, grabbing my arm with trembling fingers, nails pressing into my skin. We can fix this. Please, Samuel, just give me a chance. I pulled my arm away, eyes never meeting hers. There's nothing left to fix. And with that, I turned my back on her, leaving her to sift through the ruins she created. Behind me, her voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. Samuel, please, don't walk away. But I didn't pause, didn't look over my shoulder. I kept moving, straight to the car, Sabrina at my side, while Camilla remained at the doorway, frozen, watching the life she shattered cave in around her. Kevin's car tore down the driveway, tires screaming as he vanished, no doubt headed for the nearest bar to drown what was left of his pride. Camilla had taken everything from him too, his family, his standing, his peace. And now, she stood with nothing. Sabrina stopped beside my car and exhaled, sharp and satisfied. That, she said with a slow shake of her head, was beautiful. A quiet laugh escaped me, my chest still tight with the aftershock. Think she'll ever come back from this? Sabrina grinned without a hint of pity. Not a chance. I turned for one last look at the house. Camilla was still there, arms wrapped around herself like she could hold the world together with her bare hands. And for a split second, I remembered the good years. 11 of them. The laughter, the inside jokes, the sleepy mornings where she'd hold me close and whisper forever. But that woman? She was a ghost. Maybe she had always been. I slid into the driver's seat and closed the door. Camilla stepped forward, trembling. Samuel. I lowered the window, locking eyes with her, really seeing her. Then I gave her the only closure she'd get. This is the freedom you wanted, Camilla. Congratulations. It comes with nothing. I pressed the gas, pulled away. She didn't follow, didn't call out. Just stood there, surrounded by the silence of everything she lost. And for the first time in years, something stirred in me. Clarity, liberation. Our story comes to an end here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed this story, please check out other videos on this channel. See you soon, my dear friend.